to a new edition of BBC News. Today we're going to talk about acute myeloid leukemia, and we have brought two specialists who know a lot about the subject and will teach us about it. For those of you that don't know about acute myeloid leukemia, it is one of the most common cancers affecting adults, and the chances of getting it increase with age. It is considered a rare disease. However, as the population ages, it is expected to grow to increase too, and in the US it accounts for 1.2% of the cancer deaths. Let's hear more about it. Before we start, I want to tell you a little about the history of leukemia. It's the first published description of a case of leukemia was in 1827 by a French physician called Alfred Armand. Here we have Dr. Tatiana, who's gonna teach us about acute myeloid leukemia. Hello Tatiana, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So tell us, how does a cell become a leukemic cell?
So the bone marrow makes the stem cells that later develop into mature blood cells, and from the stem cells it divides into lymphoid stem cells and myeloid stem cells. The myeloid stem cells they become myeloblasts, and from there they're red blood cells, platelets, and white blood cells. In leukemia, myeloblasts never reach a mature state. I'm going to introduce you to a fellow doctor.
Hello Tatiana. Normal cells divide through the process of mitosis. When the cell is damaged or old, it destroys itself through the process of apoptosis. In this process, proteins break down the cell components and enzymes destroy the DNA. Then the cell begins to shrink. But when the cell loses the ability to respond to death signals, it divides more and more, forming tumors. These tumors don't allow white blood cells to normally do their job. So, Viviana, and now we're back in the studio, and Tatiana, can you please explain to us what are oncogenes?
So oncogenes are the main genes that play a big part in cancer. So oncogenes are mutations of normal genes called proto-oncogenes. These genes are the ones that control what type of cell it is and how often it divides. And when proto-oncogenes mutate into oncogenes, they enter into that gene that stays active all of the time and it divides all of the time.
So we all have a gene called RUNX1, which is crucial for the development and the maintenance of the blood circulatory system. Its main job is to encode the transcript factor protein that regulates the expression of genes in the other genes in the organism. So it also directs the differentiation of certain adult stem cells found in the bone marrow into mature cells. So basically it directs if it's going to be a red blood cell, a white blood cell, or a platelet. When there is a single mutation in the RUNX1 gene, it is the starting point for the cell to become a leukemic stem cell. The acute myeloid leukemia is characterized by a mutation called translocation. The translocation is when genetic material from chromosome 8 makes its way to the gene RUNX1, which is located in chromosome 21. It then inserts itself into the genetic sequence, and an oncogene is formed that it encodes a fused protein, and then it takes on the new function of it and loses the old ones.
Red blood cells carry oxygen and nutrients. Platelets stop bleeding and help to heal wounds. And white blood cells protect us against infections. The symptoms of acute myeloid leukemia are caused by a low number of red blood cells since there isn't enough oxygen and nutrients transported throughout the body. These symptoms are, for example, fatigue and anemia.
So tell us about the evolution.
So several hereditary factors are involved in the development of leukemia. So children who have Down syndrome are more exposed to having this disease, and also if the parents have the disease, they are also more exposed.